Pardon my Huck, but I'm Chuck Kindred, and we are here to talk about all things UFA. I've brought in all my favorite guys, Garrett Pog from Detroit, Rich from Austin, and my main man, Sean, the Iron Man of the UFA from Philly. Well, I don't know. Are you from Philly anymore? What do you call yourself, Sean?
I would still say I'm from Philly, but picking up new residency right now.
What's
Yeah,
the connection to Ireland in the background?
that's what I was going to ask.
This is actually a buddy's house. So this is his. But yeah, I could ask him and get back to you with that.
Sean's looking for a home. If anybody out there wants to house Sean, just reach out to the pod. We're happy to send him to your house for a week, 2 weeks, maybe
Our
a
next
season.
podcast will be a live stream where we can just raise money, like the Twitch streamers, for Sean to get a new place to live.
So the rundown for today's show, we're going to talk about the 4 playoff games that are coming up this weekend. We've got Madison and Minnesota on Saturday. Actually, they're all on Saturday. Madison and Minnesota, New York at DC at 7 p.m. Eastern, San Diego at Austin at 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, and then Colorado and Oakland at 9 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. So some 4 teams are going to go home. Should be an interesting preview. We're going to talk about a strength of schedule analysis. This is a data-driven podcast. You know, we're looking at data. We're looking at hard numbers. So we're going to talk about who got snubbed and who, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're going to look at the numbers and see who deserves to actually be in the playoffs and who's just getting a free ride. And the last topic that we're definitely going to cover is the Colorado Summit. The team that I have covered for the last several years has been forced out of their name. They're not going to be the Summit anymore, and we're going to rename them today unilaterally with no votes, with no financial backing whatsoever. We're going to rename them today. So stick around to find out how that all plays out. So let's start with, you want to start with the Midwest, Garrett? We'll talk about Madison and Minnesota.
Sure. Part of me was hoping I would hear somebody else kind of preview their game, so I knew how to talk about mine, but we can start with mine. Yeah, Minnesota beat Madison the past 2 times. Looking at Minnesota's run last year towards the championship, they didn't lead the league per game in any major statistical category for team stats, which I thought was pretty interesting considering the run that they had. Obviously, very difficult for a team to beat another 3 times in a season, unless it's the mechanics. But for Minnesota, I think the big key for them in both of the games that they've played this season, Madison is, I don't want to say collapsed, but they've definitely taken a step back in the third quarter. So being able to play all 4 quarters, as easy as it sounds, is definitely going to be a big key thing for Madison. And definitely taking a look at across the roster, they have pretty similarly structured rosters, in my opinion, but those additions of Justin Burnett as well as James Pollard have been very key for Minnesota's defense this season. I think Minnesota has just enough defense to edge out Madison and force Madison to play the way that Minnesota wants them to play, which is to take deep shots instead of working it up the field in a very systematic fashion.
What a polite way to say that.
Certainly
They have just enough defense to stomp all over Madison once again.
They're not going to stop on them. I just don't think that it's going to be a blowout by any means necessary. I would probably take Minnesota to win by a few points, and both of those games were pretty close for the most part if you go quarter by quarter and you really break it down. Because I just don't. Madison's a good team. I don't want it to make it sound like Madison has no chance, because it is difficult to beat a team 3 times in a season. So, but I would take Minnesota to win by around 4 or 5 points. It is going to be close. I think home field advantage will definitely help for the wind chill. But the wind chill have the right amount of talent on defense.
Can I tell you my favorite thing
Rich.
about the Minnesota wind chill? Is that they got Justin Burnett the heck out of the South. That is the best thing that they've ever done. I hated having to deal with that guy. Like, we'll talk about Austin later, but getting Justin Burnett out of Atlanta and to be someone else's problem is so great. I am shocked that Minnesota had, like, some of the losses they had this season were bad, but what they weren't as bad as is whatever the heck's going on in Madison. I don't know what Madison's team identity is. They looked like, I thought when they came to Texas and they got this kind of steal of a win in their game against the Havoc, and then they just, I I thought that we had just gotten lucky and got them on night 2 of a back-to-back and we beat them. And it turns out that that wasn't the case. They just have no system. They have no cohesion. And it turns out that having Gumby isn't enough to be like a top-tier team, even though he's one of the most dangerous guys in the entire league. So I think that the Wind Chill finally get it together and that they run through Madison and that it's brutal. That is my prediction on this one.
That it's brutal.
Brutal.
So what happened in the third quarter when Madison collapsed a bunch of times? Like, what did it look like? Did they just start to doubt themselves? Did Minnesota go on a run? Like, what happens?
I think the biggest thing that I saw was that Madison was taking a lot more deep shots down the field, which makes me, and again, I didn't play, so I'm trying to figure it out, just kind of watching the 14 men on the field. But it looked like Minnesota was forcing those deep shots down the field and just allowing their big guys like James Pollard and others to get up there and just go man for man and try to get a block. And a lot of times, Madison came up on the winning end, and sometimes Minnesota came up. Actually, in both of those games, the Huck percentage for Madison was much better than Minnesota, which I thought was pretty interesting. And that was kind of something that came up throughout the entire game, but the third quarter was when Madison just struggled to score in the end zone.
Sean, you've been playing since forever. I'm sure you've played both these teams at some point because you have to have played everybody by now. Are we totally off base? Is this what's the story?
I would say, in my opinion, I don't think Minnesota is, at least offensively, a good Hucking team. Their only real established Hucker is Josh Klain, in my opinion. Everybody else is more of like a mid-range / break thrower. Madison, I think, has added a little bit of firepower to the offense with switching Kai Noah Chun-Moy over to the offense, a former Phoenix player. Very solid all-around player. Probably thrives a bit more on the offense because he's able to kind of showcase his skill set. I think that will help them a little bit, but ultimately I still see Minnesota still taking this game, probably by like 3 or 4 points. Just due to the fact that Minnesota showcased last year that they don't really care how it looks. And I think that's like the most important thing, right? Like W's and L's are the most important stats and nothing else really matters. So they were in that wind at championship weekend last year, and everybody, especially when they played like DC, they're like, oh, we turned it over 30 times. Who cares as long as we win? Where you'd see DC turn it over and they're like, oh, shit, we turned it over, and now we're upset.
I want to go back to what Rich said about this coaching thing. Is it the switch from Tim DeBile to Jacob Spiro? Do you think that there's no identity? I'm just curious on where you get that take from, besides those games in the South and early in the season.
I think that's a good take, Rich.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate your support, and I'm glad that our longtime friendship is coming through here on this big stage. I didn't like when they were coming in to Texas. Again, it was the second game of the season, but like they barely kind of snuck out a win over Houston. Who, by the way, Houston's live now. Houston is a live team. When they have their full roster there, like they're gonna, if they have that same roster next year, they're gonna surprise some people, I think. But they barely squeaked that out, and then against us, it just felt like on the offensive side of the ball, they didn't know who to run the offense through, right? So like a lot of our defense was kind of just able to disrupt them very early, and they like as they were trying to move the disc down the field, it felt like they were like, who are we trying to get the disc to? Are we relying on the Gumby game? Are we pushing this some other direction? And then defensively, it was the best version of the Soul early in the season, and that was night 2 of a back-to-back. But defensively, it looked like they just weren't on the same page, and it feels like they're in a division where you can beat up on so many teams. Sorry, Garrett, they can beat up on your team. They can beat up on Pittsburgh, beat up on Indy. But in the rest of the division, I think anytime that they face someone who's actually a team that has a coherent game plan, that their almost kind of pick-up-y style of Ultimate didn't work this year. And that was my thought on their lack of identity.
Yeah, I always thought when Tim DeBow was coaching, they always used to win the end of quarters, and they had that just obnoxious zone that they would always fall back on and just like strangle and slow the game down. They get like a 4-goal lead and just ride it for 2 quarters playing zone. But I haven't really watched much. Do you think it sounds like they don't win the end of quarters anymore? Anybody have an opinion on that?
I guess it
Actually,
just depends on who
Sean,
they're playing, but
do you guys drill the end of quarters? Like, I feel like that's one of the main, like, that's one of the real differences in pro versus club is like, do you guys drill that?
Yeah. I mean, we personally this year probably went from one of the better teams at end of quarter last year to one of the worst teams this year. We do drill it a lot in Philly, and I know other teams drill it. But everybody has a different understanding / thinking around it. And I'd be interested to hear what Madison's. I have no clue what their thinking / understanding is. But yeah, I don't think there's a real established way to do it yet. So everybody's still trying to figure it out.
Here's a question for you. The Wind Chill have the second best break rate in the entire league. Who do you think has the best break rate in all the UFA?
Boston.
Who
The
plays
Radicals.
Detroit?
The Radicals have the best break rate in the entire league, but they've done it when they go up against the teams that can't hold on to the Frisbee. But then when you said that their break rate was like almost 40% this year, but then they play a team like Chicago and their break rate was like 21%. Same kind of thing when they play against any of the elite teams. So they're a team that's really good at taking advantage of bad ultimate, but I need to see them take care of business against good ultimate, and I don't know if they're ready for that this year.
Yeah, my take on Minnesota is that championship last year was 100% the win. 100% the win. No way they win last year if it's not a horrific win in Salt Lake. Does anybody want to talk me off that?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I have Carolina being my division, I see them a lot, and I don't know if you can attribute the bevy of drops in the first quarter to the win entirely. It looked like uncharacteristically Carolina didn't show up for the moment in the quarter and dropped the disc like kind of a shocking amount of times when it was in their hands. And I think it was maybe fear of the wind more than the wind itself that put Carolina in a big hole.
I'd say that's fair.
I think you're also just like talking about the Carolina game too, Rich. I mean, the DC probably went in as the favorites in the championship weekend, in my opinion. And Minnesota took them down in the semis. So yeah, I don't think you're far off base with that, Chuck.
Yeah, it was shocking, and I loved watching. I mean, I'm from the Upper Midwest, so like watching guys. Like I've played so many games that were just horrifically ugly ultimate. Where it's like I'm gonna huck up win, and then I'm gonna try to point block you, and then we're gonna score a break, and that'll be literally the end of the game. Like on the first point of the game, I'll win. Because it'll be an up-win, down-win game for the rest of regionals. Yay! Like that's the kind of ultimate I grew up playing. So watching Josh Klein just take shots was really enjoyable.
I think also Minnesota's like really good at that. Like last year they didn't have James, but they have a bunch of really big guys, and they'll roll it out the side and put you in this double team between 2 6'5" guys, and it's not easy.
Yeah, watching Jake Felton have to go up against those guys this past week it was something else, man. He was able to get those passes off a lot of times. So sometimes he'd split the double team or do something crazy to try to get on Instagram. But yeah, those a lot of tall guys on that squad.
One more question: Justin Burnett last year versus this year. Like, which team do you think he was higher value on?
Ooh. Can I say push?
Yeah,
I was gonna say it. Yeah, I don't know if I know the kind of impact he had on Atlanta to really accurately answer that question, but I know in terms of his defense, he's probably. I don't know if you would consider him the number 1 or 2 best player in terms of defense. Definitely in the top 3, I would say. But and I don't know how he was with Atlanta this last year.
Here's a question. Where do you rank Burnett in scariness of once the D-line's trying to convert a break? Because to me, there is nobody that I get freaked out by more than when you create a break, when either it's Minnesota or whether it's Atlanta, a break opportunity, and now you have to defend Justin Burnett, who's already such a monster defender. That, to me, that's where the real value comes in. Same thing as when in Atlanta, when Adam Miller was doing more on the D-line as a D-line handler. And you're like, oh, the second best thrower on Atlanta maybe suddenly is now throwing for their D-line. What do I even do here? So that's kind of how I feel about Burnett. I think he's insane, dude. I'm so happy. So happy he's in the Central Division.
So selfish. We're trying to have like an objective podcast talking about Ultimate, but all Rich can talk about is this stupid Austin Soul. You guys still even playing? Because like I stopped paying attention to the Austin Soul when the Sold Out podcast went away, which I heard was about a relationship issue. Is that even true?
We're bringing Weber back. Weber is going to be in the booth with me, dropping the news right here. Matthew Weber in the booth with me this weekend. So Sold Out will be making at least a halfway appearance during our playoff broadcast. I have to put some guardrails on him so that it's at least a mildly professional broadcast, but I'm super pumped. No, we play Ultimate in Austin. There's a lot of people who have Frisbees, and a few of them, at least 20 of them, will show up on Saturday night to try to defend some home territory against San Diego, who, hopefully when they try to eat Tex-Mex and it doesn't sit well with them, they'll have a night.
All right, dude, let's talk about San Diego at Austin. I feel like we've exhausted the Central Division. Garrett, it's just boring. The Central Division has always been boring. We know that. Well, actually, no. Do we need to talk about Chicago? We're just winging this in case y'all didn't know.
I think when we get into because we're going to do the strength of schedule stuff, and that's where I think we can talk about Chicago and whether or not it's a real undefeated or not.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so San Diego coming to Austin to take the L, in my opinion. What do you think, Rich?
It's not the same game. That's the one thing that makes me a little nervous about this one is it's not the same game that we played on. So it's like maybe it's a wash to a certain degree. When we played San Diego, it was night 2 of a back-to-back, traveling from Central Time to West Coast Time. So we were playing second night, and our game was starting for some of the guys like for when they would be in bed for some of our players, right? So there is some of that nerf going on. But then on the flip side, if you take a look at that game, who had 4 assists, 4 goals, and 26 points played that night? Jackson Potts, who's out for the rest of the year with an ACL tear. And you lose that height, you lose that throwing ability, you lose that athleticism. It's really, really hard on a team like ours to make up that gap. And we've done a pretty good job of trying to fill those spots. But losing Potts and losing Oakley Armstrong, who was a big part of our D-line. He had a facial fracture because someone smacked into him during league play, which is insane. So losing those two guys who were pretty both instrumental in the San Diego game, that to me is concerning. But then again, they have to travel to us, and we are going to be well rested. So to me, it's maybe those two wash out. And just because of home field advantage, and I like how we match up against some of their guys, that I think we get it done.
Dude, facial fracture. Is that like an orbital, or is there other parts of the face?
Yeah, nasty. I've seen the X-ray. It's like just like multiple. Yeah, somebody crashed into him during league, which like don't go that hard at league, please. And he's already got the surgery. It's all gone well, but yeah, that's 2 pretty big pieces that. Now you start going into your practice players, and we've got a lot of depth. It's a next man up kind of league, but you never want to lose players of that caliber, especially when one of your captains goes down like Potts.
Just to sidebar from the matchup real quick, Rich. Do you think the loss of Jackson Potts kind of led to the breakout season from the younger Hanky?
That's a good question. Potts, well, because Potts didn't tear his ACL until a little bit later. Mark, because Mark already had like a kind of a big game. He had a big game at San Diego. He scored 4 times at San Diego. He started showing out pretty nicely. It's not even the loss of Potts. So Potts didn't go on the road trip to Atlanta and Carolina, which obviously we lost both of those games. But Mark moved into some O-line reps there, and even Lepler was talking about it on Swing Pass, that he was impressed by Mark Hankey. Mark's always had that dog in him. If anybody's ever watched Mark Hankey play, he's one of the most intense dudes in the entire league, and just releasing him on offense was super fun. I'm not 100% sure he's playing offense this weekend. I know that there's some conversation of, do they need him more on defense to try to win some of those matchups than we need his scoring ability on offense. So I think he might end up playing kind of 50-50 this weekend. We'll see.
But I am choosing y'all to win, just so you know. So I will be with you this weekend, Rich. But I do think it will be a tight game. I think maybe 1 point win, maybe overtime game. I think San Diego has a lot of good players. I mean, obviously they have like Khalif and T-Don, and their top end is very good.
Miller was
but
great
overall
last time too.
Yeah, I agree. He's had a great season. I think overall Austin probably has more depth though.
Chuck, are we fakes or are we winning it?
Austin?
Yeah.
I mean, who cares, man? Like, who do you got to play? Who do you got to play to get the championship weekend? Is that Atlanta?
A team that we beat at home in their own house 2 years ago to go to championship weekend.
Oh, that's true. I don't know that big guy though. What's the big dude's name?
Holzmeyer.
God damn, Holzmeyer's terrifying, man. I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get by Holzmeyer. Yeah. Plus, he's got those eyes like they're a little too close together for how big he is. So it's like when you kind of like when you're lining up and you look at him, I can imagine it gets real distracting. Like players like that they have like a little baked-in advantage just with eye contact. Garrett knows what I'm talking about.
To some extent.
Part of me like wants to see Atlanta go just so I can see Holzmeyer line up against Boston and see what happens when the two guys who are both built like prize fighters end up going head to head. Because that would be a fun matchup.
It's always Jeff.
Yeah, I would go Jeff.
It's hard not to choose.
Yeah, I would love to watch that.
That'd be fun, but it'd be a lot of fun to watch those two fighting for space for sure.
How much taller is Holzmeyer? Like 3 inches taller? Not that it matters.
Holzmeyer, he has him by a good bit. Jeff actually isn't as big as everybody thinks. Just probably like 6'1" but he's just built like an NFL linebacker.
He's fast too. He's way faster than he should be.
It looks like an old timey boxer.
Like a freaking
for sure. Like I bet you, I've never met Babbitt in real life. Are his hands really big? He seems like he has big hands. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got bear paws, and when he walks by, it's just like thump, 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 thump. It's like a gorilla walking by. Plus, he actually helped me set up my sauna. So if you're a big guy out there, you probably know a lot about sauna because what else are you gonna do? There's only so many miles you can exert on a large body, and he builds out these like custom fire heated saunas with lofted benches. And like my theory is that's why he's so good.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Well, you play one on TV though.
True.
Yeah, I think.
I was going to say we're going to have to get these the saunas on as a podcast sponsor or something.
Yes.
With how much Chuck's
talking about. The steam room with Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley could be like the sauna
the four of us in a steam room.
Sean Mott and Jeff Babbitt smash. I don't know. We'll talk to the sponsors.
Sean, you've played against Holzmeyer?
I've played against Holzmeyer. I've also played with him at USA tryouts and stuff. Very impressive these past couple of years. He was more of just like a, I forget what, I think it was Grits is the name of their zone. He was like the deep in their zone for a while. From what I've heard, he actually doesn't like playing in their zone. But yeah, he's developed his offensive game, and now he is very much feared in this league. So his ascent has been very fun to watch.
Now, hold on. You mentioned USA.
Yes.
Isn't there some USA stuff going on during divisional championship weekend? Because I feel like I heard that Holzmeyer might not be there for that game.
There is a possibility that he would not be there because he is on the World Games team.
Guys, I mean, the Central Division takes Justin Burnett. World Games takes Holzmeyer out. is someone, do we have a lawnmower parent who's just getting in front of Austin trying to make between our schedule this year and then doing that? Like someone's trying to lawnmower it down for us? It's crazy.
Yeah, it might be your year, man. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Well,
do you feel like if they were to advance to championship weekend, do you feel like there would be an asterisk on your playoff run because of stuff like that?
I mean, it's the same thing I'm going to say about Chicago, right? Is that you got to play the games that are in front of you. Right. And we definitely there's no question Austin got one of the easiest schedules of the season, or one of the most friendly schedules. Let's put it that way, right? Like, we didn't have Dallas to beat up on anymore. We took half of Dallas's team, and very happy about having those guys. And being able to take Houston and take LA. But then on the flip side of it, like the rest of our league, our divisional matchups are San Diego, Carolina, and Atlanta, and we took our licks against Atlanta and Carolina. Madison, second night of a back-to-back. Colorado without any of their college players, and especially without Brooks, who also keeps me up at night. I'm scared of that kid. So like we got Colorado in an ideal situation. We got Madison in an ideal situation. But I also think that we are definitely, we are definitely a top 3 team in our division. It just depends on whether you think we're behind Carolina or behind San Diego. And that's the debate. But Carolina is also very frightening. No, but I think we played the schedule in front of us, and that's the thing. That's something that Najee talks about. Talked to me the other day at Putting League. That he's really maybe kind of frustrated about narrative wise. Is everyone talks about what we didn't do, and everyone talks about what the path has been like, and no one talks about winning 9 games. No one talks about winning both nights of a back-to-back on the West Coast, right? Like, yes, it was hard to beat LA, but we got it done and then went and beat San Diego, right? So I think that's also, you have to give some credit where credit's due. If you win 9 games in this league, and especially if you're doing some of those on the road like that, you deserve to be in the conversation.
It's fair. Should we move to the next game? Any more thoughts on that one?
Sean, what's happening in the East, dude?
Yeah, New York, DC. I mean, AL is old as time, right? It's always a fun game. Typically ends in a buzzer beater or overtime. I would say going in, if I had to bet on it, I'd probably bet towards DC. I think they have been the stronger team this year, even though New York just beat up on Philly to make it in. But yeah, New York has momentum. JR, these past 5 weeks, has looked like the best player in the league. And we'll have to see how DC handles them. So yeah,
what makes him great? Like when he's attacking, what makes him great?
I think this year he really developed his throws. In the past, I mean, he's always been a good thrower, but he has been focused on not turning it over as much, which I love to see. And we already know how unstoppable he is. Cutting wise, he will just bulldoze you into the ground. He'll get whatever he wants, and his motor is so high. And then that's not even talking about his defense. They can throw him onto a D line, and he'll take the best matchup and do what keeps Rich up at night with Justin Burnett. But I will go DC 22-21.
Do you think, Sean? This hasn't. I feel like this. I don't even know if this got talked about on any of the official league things. But a lot of this gets back to the buzzer beater that wasn't, or that was, or that however you want to say it. The DC throw off after the clock is dead.
Yes.
How much of history did that change? And I guess do you think that that's just part of playing a game that humans are going to officiate, or should there be some more mechanisms to not have a goal like that count?
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be more mechanisms. If we want to get technical with it, Jack probably got fouled, so he probably should have had an untimed throw with 0 seconds. But whatever happened. I think also in the New York New York DC game at DC, there were a couple calls that went in DC's way. So at the end of the day, they're probably going to even out the calls. Like, I'm personally someone who's known to yell at the refs a lot, so I won't say I'm the friendliest to them. But yeah, they make mistakes just like anybody else. So I would maybe like to see. We could talk about maybe doing challenges. I think challenges would be fun. I don't know how we would implement that, like VAR or something. Costs a lot of money. I don't know if we're making that type of money yet, but maybe down the line.
Maybe I have thoughts on the technology of how to do it because I'm always have my producer hat on, but it might be doable. I don't know, Chuck.
Yeah, we're going to need you to take over production across the league if we want to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't envy the job that the production team for the league has to try to put all that together. Every single week that we have all these games to watch, I'm always just so blown away that they all come together and then I'm able to watch Frisbee all weekend. So I wouldn't want to. I'd love to. I'm always down to help, but they do a crack job with what they have to work with. I don't know, Chuck. What do you think about? Do you think that New York rises again and becomes really scary to everybody in the postseason, or does DC end the dynasty?
Yeah, I mean, I probably haven't followed it close enough to like really disagree, but I just always have liked New York's culture. They've got a history of success. They've got guys like Jack, who I just kind of believe in, and then JR turning it on down the stretch. Like I wouldn't want to face a hot New York, I guess is what I'm saying. I'd be a little nervous. And then also just like DC's never gotten it done, like I feel like they're always pretty talented, but they've never gotten it done. So I'm kind of a culture guy. It's like that's baked into your culture at this point, whether you want it to be or not. It's like we're a team that has never gotten there, and New York was a dynasty. So like that's the little like wild card for me, that it's just like it's baked into their DNA that they win. Whereas DC, it's baked in their DNA that like maybe next year.
That's a hard.
It does feel like
DNA.
Yeah, for sure. It does feel like this division has been so wacky and wild all season. So it's like, I think I would probably go with New York as the winner, but then I think, all right, well, with how crazy that division has been, maybe I should think the opposite because of that. So that makes me want to lean DC just because of that. Maybe this is their year. But that's not anything based on stats or facts. It's just kind of a gut feeling of like, all right, whatever I think, assume the opposite,
What about like coaching advantage? Who's got the best coaches?
Mm-hmm. I'd probably lean DC. I think both coaches are good. I am currently being coached by Lauren on Truck Stop, and Nunez was my YCC coach. So I don't want to lean one way.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I got to play with Dutchie, who coached Team USA, and he was my captain on Revolver back in the day. But yeah, he speaks really highly of Lauren. I think he thinks she's just an exceptional coach.
I think also, like, to go with what you said, Garrett, if we were thinking opposite of everything, if Montreal made it in and they were playing home games, I think Montreal is probably the best team in the league at home.
That's
fair.
Yeah.
Dude, that championship weekend was like, that was the best one I was a part of. Like they packed it out in Montreal, and Montreal is such a dope town. Like I don't know if you guys have been there. I never.
Fans.
What's that?
They get fans. They get a lot of fans.
Oh man, it was awesome. And they're Canadian, so they're like compassionate people. They're not like savages like me.
Is Jurek back for playoffs, or is Cole Jurek still? Is he? I don't know. Was it an injury situation?
Yeah, he got injured at PC. He injured his quad. So I think he is a question mark, a game time decision heading in, and that'll be a pretty big game time decision.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Because when I was looking at the stats for the Breeze this year, and they only have 3 players on the roster who've played all 12 games, and then only 5 players who've played, or 4 players who've played 11 games, including Aiden Downey only played 6. Right? So, like, you're looking at some pretty key pieces that have been missing, unavailable, like, for whatever reason of school or buy-in or injury or whatever it might be. So, It's also one of those things where it's like hard to look, and it's the same thing for everybody in the league. Every league has this exact same problem, but some teams I think have the problem worse than others. And if that's been one of the reasons why DC was fighting rather than dominating, that makes me like DC even more here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to jump right on that and say, does that make their 7-5 more impressive that they had so much depth that they're able to win 7 games and make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think that any team that has that, you got to take all. It's the same reason why you would like take a look at Austin's record, or when we get into the Chicago stuff, you might take a team and go, oh, I think that maybe I put an asterisk there for some reason. You could have a reverse asterisk, and I think you could reverse asterisk DC and go, maybe this team is 8-4 or even 9-3 if they have a little bit more participation from some of the key figures throughout the season.
Do you guys think either of these teams beat Boston?
No, sir.
Sean, you're the most qualified person to make that call.
Right. I will not bet against Jeff. Jeff, if you have a 1-point game, if we were in sudden death, double overtime, there is nobody I'd rather have on the field other than Jeff Babbitt. So I will not bet against him.
Well, then how do you beat Boston? Right? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of their losses this season came near the end when they were kind of starting to rest some people and not put the same full squad out. But how do you actually beat Boston? Do you have to be ahead of them enough so that you take Babbitt out of the equation at the end of the game?
I think the big thing, when we played Boston in Philly, I think we did a good job of it in the first half, and then in the second half he racked up like 3 or 4 Ds. You have to play a game plan where you keep him uninvolved. If he wants to go and get involved in the play, you have to punish him for it. They also have other defenders who can make plays, like Tyler Chan and Tanner Johnson-Go. But, I mean, the ultimate defender is Jeff Babbitt. And then I think offensively, they are good. Like, they have Tobe, they have Calvin Stoughton, they have Sadok. They have, like, a good lineup on offense, too. But I think the big thing with their offense is if you are able to make them turn it over, I do not think they play the best defense. So I think that's kind of where their weak point is.
Is Yacht playing?
I would assume so.
Yeah. Is he? Where do they have him this year? I've been watching. Is he on?
They have him on out. Yep.
Yeah.
He's having a good year.
Yeah. Dude, that would be a fun guy to throw to. Like sometimes I watch and I just I would never want to play again, but I'm just like I get some fucking ideas when I watch Ben Yacht.
It's really funny too because you look at him, you're just like you see how big he is, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just close my eyes and throw this up. But he actually would rather run it out than jump over somebody.
Yeah.
Well, that's
he's fast.
You kind of pose that question too, right? It's almost like each team has a chicken and egg question. We raised that during the Carolina game of is it Laviolette or Fairfax? What's the piece? Is Laviolette so good because he can throw to Fairfax, or is Fairfax so good because Laviolette is a great thrower? And then Ben Yacht creates that same question for New York, right? Is it because you're throwing to Yacht, or is it because of the throwers, or is the answer just yes?
I think for Carolina, I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, Fairfax is a phenomenal receiver, and Al is a phenomenal thrower. But I would say for New York, I think while they do have good throwers, I think Ben makes their throwers look better than they should sometimes.
Agreed.
Well, talking about throwers to athletes, I think we're all in consensus. Or wait, hold on, we got our final votes. Sean, you took DC, but
I took DC. Very close game, though. Another 1-pointer.
So we got DC, we got New York. Garrett,
I guess I'll roll DC. I guess I'll roll with Sean on this one. I trust his opinion.
Nice.
I'm gonna split it up and say that the demon rears its horns one more time, and we get what we all want to see, which is a New York Boston divisional championship, and see how that one. See if they can get it up for that game. That's my vote. So we're split.
So if it's New York versus Boston, does Babbitt guard Yacht? Do I get to see that? I want to see that.
I think you would, because Orion's been playing O this year, so that's their other big man. So I think it has to be Babbitt covering you out.
The league should step in and make Babbitt and Yacht play directly against each other and just say this is how it has to be.
Yeah, the league is not corrupt. However, this podcast is corrupt, and we've fundraised and we've paid off the refs to make sure that New York wins this week, and then also that anyone who tries to guard Yacht other than Babbitt is thrown out of the game.
I like that.
So
and I appreciate
that was a lot of money, but yeah, I think it was worth it.
Contributing to that. That was a good call. Chuck, I wanted to. I think the idea of a thrower to super athletes is a good transition to the West, because that's kind of like, you can speak more to the Colorado things, but that was kind of how I viewed some of the Colorado offense when y'all came and played, which was a good thrower throwing to super athletes. But then now, like, we also, as I said before, we didn't have to deal with Brooks when you guys came to visit us, which I thank school schedules more than anything for that one every day.
It's true. And like the West, I mean, I think they looked at the divisions, like the interdivisional matchups, and the West looked the weakest. And I think that's legit. I wish it weren't, but I think it is kind of legit. I don't think the West is as strong as the other divisions. I don't think there's any threat of anybody winning the title out of the West. Unfortunately, it's just one man's opinion. But yeah, when I look at the matchup between Oakland and I would take Oakland. I think they have advantages. They're at home. It's going to be windy. Fremont, they play at like Fremont High School, which if you've never been to the Bay Area, actually, if you have been to the Bay Area, you haven't been to Fremont, because why would you go to Fremont? It's nowhere near anything. It's in actually a bad neighborhood too, so I think that'll scare the like Boulder is kind of a bubble. Colorado's like, it's like on an island in this country, and I think when you go to the hard streets surrounding the field in Fremont, it's going to scare these guys. There's a nervous system response that starts to happen. These guys are going to get scared. I think that's real. The other advantages I think they have is that, you know, if they're physical on the mark, the Colorado guys can't deal with physical marks. I mean, that is like the recipe to beat Toby Brooks, is just bump into that dude. He hates it. In terms of the matchup, they're dominator with Walker Frankenberg, Leo Gordon, Evan Magsig, Adam Reese. Pretty solid. I think that's going to work just fine against Colorado. And then they've got guys like Robin Vickers-Batzdorf and Eli Kearns just hanging out in the wings if you need that like steadying veteran presence. I guess Raekwon's back, right? Raekwon's healthy, so that helps. I think they got a good matchup, and I like their culture better than I like Colorado. I think they've got this upside in their culture that I like. I think they believe in themselves. I think they're confident. I think they're not afraid to win. And then when I look at, I'll give you the other side. Like Colorado, I think could win because they're not expecting them to win this game. You know, Colorado's been playing 500 ball for a few seasons now. If you aggregate the record, it's really well below what they should be playing. They're talented. Like Colorado's got a lot of talent, but you know they got no expectations on them, so they're rolling in here. If they win, great. You know, nobody's really looking for them to win. Toby Brooks seems to have their number. I mean, he crushed them on May 30th when he sort of debuted this season with Colorado. Just smoked them. Quinn Finer's healthy this year. Last year he was fighting all year and playing Worlds, Team USA stuff. So he looks totally healthy. He had kind of a whatever game this last game, but I think that's an anomaly more than anything. And then Kuhlman likes the matchup on Leo. So we'll see if he can repeat what he did last time. Zeke Thorson, I think, is going to be a tough matchup for them. So I think that plays for Colorado, like his size and his tenacity too. Like he does not want to lose. And I think he fights harder than anybody I've seen on Colorado, like when they're down. And the thing I can't figure out is like Keenan Lawrence is going to help them a lot. He just kind of got healthy, and his throws in that stadium are going to be really valuable for them. I don't know if he's ready to carry the load, but I think he could be the key for Colorado winning this game because he's played there. He knows that team, and his throws are really, really, really elite. Like if he's up to speed and ready to hit throws and tough wins against these coverages, I think Keenan could carry him, but I just don't know if he's ready yet.
I think mentally Keenan's so important too, though, because yes, when you guys came to visit us, the Houston loss was devastating, and then came in and you could see just the team kind of like sagging later in the game as we were starting to pull away. And Keenan was just like getting guys together to do celebrations when they scored and just like trying to keep everybody having fun playing Frisbee, which I think needed to get them out of their heads in that game. And I was really impressed with Keenan from a leadership standpoint during that game. So I think that's also, you have to add that value in. When it gets hard, he's not going to let you feel sorry for yourself, which I think is really good.
100%.
You guys can speak to this as players. When you get to a championship, sorry, not championship, when you get to a playoff stage, do the emotions kind of run a little bit higher, and do the, I don't know, butterfly jitters, are those there in those situations, or is it just kind of another game for these players? Because I look at Oakland and a lot of the young talent that they have, they are talented, but this is their first playoff game in the UFA. So that's a question that comes up for me when I hear some people saying that Oakland is going to dominate this game.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think there's definitely butterflies and jitters. It's hard. It really is hard. During the regular season, you play a certain way. You might not show all your cards. You might not be going 110% every single time. When you get to the playoffs, it is foot to the gas the whole time. So you have to just be ready to go. And if you have one or two mess ups and go down early, the other team is not going to let you get back up.
Yeah, they can.
I think the big
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Rich. I think the big question, Chuck, do we know the status of Kins? Is Kins going to play?
Ooh.
I don't think he's marked as active. I mean, I don't think he's that close to being ready. He had like an MCL problem. He's listed as questionable, but I didn't get the feeling he was that close to being back yet. So yeah, that's a big deal. Kins is a mixed bag, but like his upside is pretty freaking significant, and like
Pretty good.
even just like in the wind, like his throws, I think would be really valuable.
Well, I'm looking at the numbers too, and you guys don't even have, like, you don't have anybody dressed. You have your 20, you have Kins as questionable, and then the guys that be seen as like possible dressed maybe cycle in. Like nobody's even on that. So that's kind of fascinating. Yeah, Kins being out is definitely a different problem for sure.
He's crazy though. I mean, he might play, right? He shouldn't play, but he is insane.
He is crazy.
So who knows, man? Like it's just an MCL, right? Like how many? Like you got 3 ligaments. You don't need the 4th ligament. Like we all know that.
Yeah.
Do we know that?
So who really cares about it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I also I keep looking at. And I mentioned it before we started recording, but just looking at how good Oakland has been this year, and that's with Itai Chang not playing this season, who's such a huge difference maker. You talk about like young guys who are at that level. I think, what is he like? I think he was Defensive Player of the Year, despite playing mostly on the O line his senior year at Ego, and I think that's what Ultiworld gave him. He's that level of potential franchise player, and I know where he is. He's at the summer camp that my kid is at in California, like teaching Ultimate to kids. Like he's just out having a ball in the woods in California this summer. And I try to imagine what like this Oakland team, how much scarier they would be on top of where they are if he was in there too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if anybody has an answer to this, but I've been kind of curious about this. So Bravo won a title a few years ago, and I didn't know if it just kind of broke right for them, or if they're like a legit championship caliber pool of talent. Like when I look at their roster, I sort of just feel like they're really talented, and maybe it's a combination of both, but I can't explain why the Summit had been playing 500 ball and Bravo won a title like right at the beginning of that window. Does anybody have a thought on that?
I would say leadership. I think that Bravo team had some veterans that kind of they aren't as impactful on the field as like the younger guys, but they do all the right things off the field. Like I would say one of the guys for Oni this last year who didn't get on the field a lot, Evan Paget. He is the ultimate teammate and like made the experience great for everybody, but he's not going to show up on the stat sheet stuffing it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Who's got the best vets? Like, is any team out there in the playoffs have like really, really, really legit vet leadership?
Not in the West. Like that's the West problem, right? The West is so young. Like, you know, we're talking about the Spiders, where most of that team can't even run a car. So that's super duper young. Same thing with, I mean, Salt Lake like has their young but not young thing going on. I don't know. I think like when I think vets, I typically think either the Central Division or the East Division are where I look for like veteran players.
It's got to be
there's
New
a lot of
York,
longevity.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, New York is that you can't get much more veteran than that.
Yeah,
but
makes
vets
sense.
also
What about Central?
They come with bad knees though.
Yeah. I think also the big thing with like the West, Chuck hit on it a little bit with the Dominator set for the Spiders. In my opinion, I think Frankenberg should, other than Don, Don's probably going to win MVP, but I think Frankenberg should be second in MVP voting. He's had a phenomenal year. So,
yeah, I don't know if they have an answer for him either. Like, I think he's going to get what he wants on Saturday.
Well, where's that sweet
I don't know
spot? Oh, sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, how good do you think he could be? Maybe he already is as good as he's gonna be, but like every time I see Frankenberg, I feel like he's better than the last time I saw him.
yeah, I mean that's a good question. I personally don't know him that well, so I don't know how close to his ceiling he is. But yeah, like you said, every time he steps on the field, it seems like he gets better.
You talk about like the vet thing, Chuck. You know, I'm just kind of browsing through some of Chicago, and I think that one of the things about Chicago is they have this almost sweet spot of vets where they have a ton of guys who have 5 to 7 years in the league, so they have a ton of experience, ton of high level experience, but they're not road worn. I mean, they're taking Pavel off the bench, right? Like he's coming in for minutes, not for chunks. Like that tells you like, hey, we have a deep team of people who can really play, and then we can pull the Giannis trigger when we have to, which I think that's part of why Chicago is where they're at.
Yeah, talking to their coaches this season, it seemed like that their coaching staff put out a lot of feelers for different players, whether they played in UFA or not, and just tried to see who they could either poach from opposing squads or poach from overseas even as well. So it's one of those things where, yeah, like they were able to get guys like Pablo Giannis back, but also steal Xavier Payne from Indianapolis and go get Don DeMarais, who, if he doesn't win MVP, he's obviously a very sure lock for Rookie of the Year, which is what I think he'll end up getting because he can only win that award once. So MVP you can win, however many years from now. Yeah, so it's been very interesting to see their coaching staff kind of talk about how much they've been able to do recruiting in the offseason, which I don't know about your guys' teams, but I don't really hear a whole lot about that. A lot of times it's tryouts and stuff like that end up happening.
I think recruiting is the easiest thing. It's like that's something about Central and North Ultimate though, is it's so much easier to recruit there because you're all so much more condensed. Whereas for us, like we were able to poach what we could from Dallas folding, and then like can we steal someone from Houston? But there's not like I don't know if you've ever been to Texas. It's very big here. It's hard to get from here. Like we can't really recruit. Whereas you're up in the Northeast and you're like, hey, do you want to take a 90-minute train ride? And then now you're on the team. It's a whole different universe. And I do want to call out one thing that's bad for you, Garrett, but good for Chicago. You talk about them adding recruiting. What they went and did last year in getting Sjogren his first win in the UFA after like a crazy long career. And then you're able to add guys like that to Chicago. So I think that you hit the nail on the head there with the recruiting. They've done a great job with it.
Yeah, and they have such a bought-in culture too. You talk about like New York and other squads like that have this just very winning culture. Not necessarily winning in Chicago's case, but like just a very bought-in culture, and everybody knows what the deal is there. They have the same message from ownership all the way down from the last player on the bench, and it's very clear and consistent. I think I saw that talking to Charlie First, who used to coach, or sorry, he's coaching for the team this year as a co-head coach, has been an assistant coach for some time, and then he was a player before that. So seeing him just kind of evolve in his role at the organization and stay with that organization as well, never being tempted to leave and stuff like that. When you have a culture that's so bought in, that's why you're able to recruit players elsewhere, such as like, if we want to go another central team, Pittsburgh, not letting Max Shepard go, but New York was able to woo Max Shepard enough to say, hey, we got this fantastic winning culture over here. Why don't you be a part of this? And end up taking Pittsburgh's probably best player over there as well.
Well, I think that Chuck, we were over there talking about the West Coast, talking about Colorado, but I think we kind of buried the lead talking about Colorado because the most important story out of the West is the Colorado Summit or no more. This is the end of the Colorado Summit.
Yeah, it's tough. But when a women's soccer team wants the name of your team, you just give it away. That's what I've come to understand over the years as an ultimate Frisbee player. So, Colorado Summit started 2021. They were really good that first year. Now they're just a team that exists. They play all their games. They have one of the best home fields in the league. But yeah, breaking news this week, the National Women's Soccer League has an expansion club team that's going to take their name. They're called the Denver Summit Football Club. And the Colorado Summit says they're going to pass the torch. So Sal Pace said, this is more than a handoff. It's a collaboration built on respect, teamwork, and growing our Colorado sports community for everyone. It's a huge honor to see the Summit name live on in professional women's soccer. And we're excited to take our fans with us into a new era for Colorado Ultimate Frisbee. So what we don't know is just like what exactly is the partnership and what kind of relationship between those two teams will exist. It'd be pretty freaking cool if there was any kind of, I don't know, reciprocal something between the two teams. That would be really fun.
Who owns the field?
But, that's the Denver Summit FC.
No, who owns the field where the
Colorado
Summit, the current Summit,
It's the Colorado School of Mines, this little college out in Golden, Colorado, home of Coors.
Oh, that's right.
Delicious mountain tap
but
beers.
Maybe does this mean that they're moving to whatever facility that this soccer team's going to play at?
And that would make a lot of sense. Although I wouldn't trade our home field is so dope. Like literally you sit there, you got like the front range of the Rocky Mountains, sun setting over the mountains. Like it's crazy. Golden's a nice, cute little fun town. And I think having like a pro sports game in Golden works. There's even mass transit from Denver. So I got nothing bad to say about where we play now.
That rules.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully it's a growth thing. Yeah.
The Havoc play in Sabercat Stadium because the ownership group also owns a professional rugby team. So they play in the team named after that. So that's why I'm curious. I wonder if this partnership means somehow more resources coming into Colorado beyond just like they're selling the name. Maybe there's more of that kind of thing going on in some way.
I would sure hope so if that were the case. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Colorado's a little bit of an island. Like geographically, there's a reason that Salt Lake and Colorado didn't have pro teams for the longest time. It's because we're just geographically isolated. Like when you have to fly to all your games, it's too cost prohibitive to have teams. So I think that exists in a lot of the sports in Colorado is that you need to make a certain amount of profit to afford to have a franchise in these states. So yeah, if you get together with another team and try to build a fan base and build a product collaboratively, I think that could be really positive. So we don't know all those details, but what we do know is that the Summit as a name is no more. So we're going to do a little interactive, collaborative renaming game. Do you guys all have names that you want to put out there? You don't have to pitch them. You could just say them. But does everybody have some names they want to throw out? Because I figured we could go around the horn. Rest in peace, around the horn. Tony Reale passed away this week. Just kidding, he didn't pass away. But I figured we could go around the horn and just throw out names and see by facial expression which ones we like the most. Does that sound good to all?
I love it.
All right, let's go clockwise. So we'll go Chuck to Sean to Rich to Garrett. So I think it should be the Colorado Mountaineers. This is mountain country. We're Highlanders. We stay at elevation. We breathe thin air, and we'll crush you. The Colorado Mountaineers. Facial expressions, please. All right, Sean, your turn.
It's a good first draft.
Yeah. I will go with the Colorado Biscuits. They throw buttery biscuits. So that's what I'll go with. Facial expressions,
please. That's pretty good. Rich?
That was giving me like D3 College Ultimate vibes. Like
Correct.
That's the kind of name. You're like a local liberal arts school. That's
all right, Rich. Enough, man. What's your name?
You can't set up the biscuits and not have me hit it. My word. All right, hear me out on this one, guys. I'm gonna go with the official car of Colorado. I'm gonna say that's the Colorado Subaru, because it's a Japanese word that means like coming together. It's not. I don't know if they are able to prevent you from using it for everything. It refers to like the Pleiades constellation, which is why that's in their logo. But the Subaru, I think there actually is a state law in Colorado where if you don't have an F-150, you have to have a Subaru. I don't know much about your politics there, but I think that it speaks to the culture of Colorado and does something that everyone is quite recognizable as a part of who you guys are.
Facial expressions, please.
I'll take that. Thank you, Sean. I'll take that. This feels like a good, maybe a win for now.
Garrett.
All right, for my name, honest to goodness, if we're being honest here, I didn't think of a name, but if we're in the spirit of taking people's names, I say, let's talk to the Major League Baseball and let's steal the Colorado Rockies name. So I'm going to go with the Colorado Rockies for the team name.
Facial expressions, please. Just one of the worst seasons ever. I think, you don't have what you need talent-wise. You don't have what you need culture-wise. You need to just, shift gears. I think the new name of the Colorado Summit should be Jeff Babbitt.
That's a good name. I like that.
Facial expressions? All right, fair.
Do you have another one, Sean?
Could it be the Colorado Babbitts? Could we do that instead?
I like that.
Babbitts. Colorado Babbitts. That is a nice ring.
I think if we're going to go culture-wise, we could resurrect an old culture, maybe not the best one, but we'll go with Colorado Dragons.
Oh, we could bring back that logo, the Rochester Dragons jerseys. Yeah, I'm into that. Facial express the fuck out of that. Rich, you got any more?
Yeah, this one I think really speaks to who Coloradans are and kind of what's happening in Colorado in the last, let's say, 10 years. That's relevant for now. And it's kind of go with me. It's kind of like the Utah Jazz, right? It's more ephemeral. It's the Colorado Don't Move Here. I think that.
I'll sign off on that.
Seems pretty good.
Colorado housing expenses higher than expected. It's the new team name.
Yeah.
Dude, that's funny. I like that. Garrett?
I was trying to think of another funny one, but I cannot, so I will pass.
All right, who's got more? I'll run through a couple. I think we should go by Highlander. There can only be one. Colorado Highlander Ultimate.
I don't
Facial
hate
expressions.
It. Solid.
Something. High Times. We were sponsored last year by a dispensary. I think we should just lean in and just be a completely stony team. High Times Ultimate.
I like it.
Wonder Boy. And then you just play, what's Jack Black's band?
Tenacious D.
Tenacious D. You just blast Wonder Boy, whenever we score. You just do that. Wonder Boy Ultimate.
Cool. I think you guys need to get a good product tie-in, right?
Coors.
Yeah, there needs to be. Oh yeah, yeah. The
Colorado Coors. That was gonna be my next one.
It's actually really good.
Yeah, how have we not gotten a sponsorship from Coors? They probably don't want anything to do with us.
Probably because you guys play at a college. Are you guys able to sell beer at your games?
Yeah, only in the south stands. No, the north
Okay.
stands. You have to
Yeah,
used
get
to
those
have
crazy
those
drunks
there.
away from everybody else.
Yeah, this is a family affair over here, but the drunk people are on the far side.
Our
All right,
field
what
that we
name?
used to play
So,
at shut down, so we don't have beer anymore.
any other names to consider? So, is there any consensus on what the hell the name of the team should be?
I mean, I think I nailed it with the.
Subaru Up Export.
I was saying, don't move here. I think that was. It's like
Don't
it
move here,
resonated.
Ultimate.
I think it. Yeah. I think it hit pretty nicely.
All right, don't move here, Ultimate. It's brought to you by Coors. All right,
Presented by.
it's settled. So we'll let the owners know that's going to be the name of the team. We're going to have jerseys for sale next week. Follow us at Don't Move Here Ultimate on Twitter, no, on X, and whatever socials.
Yeah, Rich, if you're so good at making graphics, I feel like you should make the next logo, and then we can present it next week.
I will just go to ChatGPT and tell them to make a logo.
I was going to say AI, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not making a logo. I slapped this together with hope and a prayer and some duct tape.
Well, the only other topic that we were going to cover was there was a post on Reddit with some data science output suggesting which teams were snubbed and which teams had the toughest schedule. Rich, do you want to dive into that and let us know the mystery team that absolutely should be in the playoffs that isn't?
Yeah. Oh, the mystery team that no one would see coming. Someone made a post. It was like strength of schedule was just about like what the opposing team's record was, which isn't totally a good one. And then they kind of gave a opponent win percentage by win total rating. But either way, the fact that the Carolina Flyers aren't in the playoffs is, and this is as much as like I love seeing them not in the playoffs. It makes me very happy. They had such a brutally hard schedule this year. They really got it. Got hurt pretty heavily. Havoc also ended up having kind of a hard schedule, partially because we popped off this year. But yeah, Flyers. They essentially their opponent win rate was 81 and 63 was the opponent's record. So they really should have been up there. And then at the other end of the scale, the three teams that had the easiest win rate for opponents, Seoul and Summit tied at 59 wins, 85 losses for their opponents. And the Chicago Union, 58 wins and 86 losses for their opponents. And I will say this, I will happily admit that the Seoul had a friendly schedule, but I will stand on this hill. The Union had the easiest schedule of the league, and for sure the easiest schedule of any one seed in the league. No questions asked.
Bold
I
statement.
would definitely agree on the one seed part for sure.
Well, who else got... Okay, this is your division we're talking about, Garrett, but 7 of their wins were a combination of Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis. And there isn't a playoff-bound team that shouldn't go 7-0 through that run. Maybe 6-1 at worst. And then they had... The only real difficult away game they had was away at Minnesota. They had Minnesota at home. They had Atlanta night 2 of a back-to-back without Holzmeier, right? Like... Where's the hard game? Where's the true tester game on their schedule? Show me one beyond Minnesota away, which is one of the not as bad of an away game as you can get.
Yeah, that was going to be my pick was the Minnesota away game, and I didn't recognize Atlanta was on the second night of a back-to-back. So the 1-point win from Chicago is certainly interesting in that regard. It's one of these things where talking about schedules and stuff like that, and it's been talked ad nauseum amongst ultimate players and coaches and media members and stuff like that, just because of the league of where they're at. Most teams don't play a lot of games outside of the division. Like the Mechanics didn't play anybody outside of the Central, and for the Union they only played one outside of the Central in Atlanta, as we talked about. It's one of those age-old conversations like Cam Brock when we talk about how great he is. It's like, well, he played prior to joining Atlanta, he played a fourth of his games against Detroit, most likely, right? If you were to really break it down. So is he as amazing, or to call him like the best ultimate player ever? Is he that, or did he just benefit from playing against really bad teams? So that's the thing I would kind of come to is like we can talk ad nauseum about who is the hardest or the toughest schedule. I think there's a pretty clear consensus about the West Coast and the East Coast are just like kind of the top dogs in terms of ultimate and the style that they play, and that the Midwest is kind of a standard below. And I say that as someone who's from the Midwest, and I love that Minnesota was able to win last year. But seeing how Chuck was talking about earlier about how the wind was such a factor in that championship weekend, it's just certainly interesting to look at. Yeah, just the different styles of ultimate, and ultimately, no pun intended, what I don't know what everybody's thoughts are, I guess, on this.
I think it's really hard because the strength of schedule thing. I know like the PUL used it, and I have a little bias towards it because Philly was the team that ended up getting snubbed when they used the algorithm. But yeah, I think no matter how we do it, there's always going to be like what ifs. Obviously, Carolina should be in the playoffs. Like we played them this year, and they are a phenomenal team. Like Rutledge Smith, McDonald, Laviolette, Fairfax. They have studs all over the place. But at the end of the day, only 3 teams in each division can make it. So, like you said, sometimes you just have to play the games in front of you, and they didn't do enough with the games in front of them.
How it goes sometimes. Final thoughts from anybody?
Hopefully I'll see you guys in August, but long road. Long road.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thanks you guys for stepping up. And Sean, just so you guys know, Sean got pulled in a few hours ago, and it's been really fun to get to know you, man, and hear what you got to say as a current player and a stud, honestly, in the league right now. So thank you for joining.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. This has been Pardon My Huck with Rich in the South, Garrett in the Central, Chuck in the West, Sean in the East. We'll see you guys next time.